Today's video, I'm going to talk about the 4 universal rules of gun safety and how to use them at home when you decide to get a handgun for home defense. Thanks for watching. There are 4 universal rules of gun safety. Rule number 1, always know the condition of your firearm. Know if it's loaded or not. If you are not sure, consider the firearm to be loaded until you visually and mechanically verify otherwise. For example, this handgun right now is obviously unloaded. The slide is locked back. There's no magazine in the magazine well, and I have a chamber flag indicating that there's nothing in the chamber. If I remove this chamber flag, this is what a unloaded handgun looks like. There is nothing inside the chamber and there is no magazine. I'm going to place a dummy round, a polymer round, to replicate a live round inside the chamber, and you can see the back of the cartridge. This is what a loaded handgun looks like. If there was a magazine installed, consider the gun to be readily dischargeable until that magazine is removed from the firearm. So rule number 1, always know the condition of your firearm, and if you're not sure, treat it as if it is loaded until you visually and mechanically verify otherwise. Rule number 2, always maintain muzzle control. When you are at the gun range, your muzzle should be pointed in the direction of whatever the berm is that you're shooting toward. So if this direction here was my berm at a range, downrange, whether I'm on a bench or whether I am operating the handgun, this muzzle is always pointed downrange. If I am loading magazines at the range, my muzzle direction stays downrange. You don't have a downrange when you're operating in your home. In this case, we have 2 safe directions depending on your circumstances. Down is always a good, safe direction. Muzzle pointed down. And that's especially true on a first floor. Unless you have small children or small pets that you do not want to come under your muzzle, if that is the case, then your acceptable safe direction is up, especially if you are on a second floor. Muzzle down on a second floor with innocent life on the first floor, that's a bad day if you were to have a negligent discharge. So up on a first floor with small life or up on a second floor are your safe directions. Rule number 3, always keep your finger indexed off the trigger until you're on sights, on target, and ready to shoot. For a right-handed shooter, this is what finger off the trigger looks like. It's not hovering over the trigger guard. It's not positioned slightly off of the trigger itself. It is up onto the slide, and I like to use the ejection port as my registry point. This is what finger off the trigger looks like for a right-handed shooter. For left-handed shooters, I don't have an ejection port, but I do have a corner on the top of the slide just behind the ejection port that I can index off of. This is what finger off the trigger looks like. It is the only safety that will never fail you. Anything mechanical eventually fails. And you fail the safety if you forget to turn it on when you need it on, and it fails you when you forget to turn it off when you need to turn it off. Finger off the trigger, however, fail safe. That's rule number 3. Universal rule of gun safety number 4 for handguns. Always know the trajectory of your bullet and what is in the bullet path until that bullet comes to rest. In other words, know your target, and for defensive shooting, know what's between you and your target that you do not intend to shoot. And of course, know what's behind your target should your shots penetrate or miss the target. Know what's behind that target until that bullet comes to rest. Those are the 4 universal rules of gun safety, and that's all I got for today. Remember, be safe, stay dangerous, and keep your force justified.